All right, let's dive into, well, one of the more unsettling horror stories out there. H.P. Lovecraft's The Shadow Over Innsmouth. And,
Oh, it's a fascinating story, isn't it? It's more than just your typical, monsters and shadows. It's something much deeper,
wow,
more insidious, I guess.
yeah, it really gets under your skin. So our mission today is to uncover what makes this town, Innsmouth, so repulsive, yet so captivating. We'll be exploring its dark history, the secrets that Lovecraft weaves into his narrative.
Maybe we can even figure out how a story written so long ago still resonates with us today. What do you think? What anxieties of Lovecraft's time might he be reflecting in this story?
Yeah, that's a great point. Okay, so we start off with our narrator. He's an antiquarian on a road trip through New England, clearly a fan of history and architecture. He hears these rumors about a place called Innsmouth. And even the name, just the name of the town, elicits fear and disgust from everyone.
It's like right from the start, Lovecraft builds this incredible sense of dread. And we haven't even seen the town yet. And the narrator is so drawn to this place, right? Especially because of this peculiar tiara. People describe it as alien, unearthly. He's got to see it for himself.
Almost like a moth to a flame,
Yeah.
drawn to the mystery, and not knowing the danger that might be waiting. This tiara, it's almost insignificant, but it becomes this huge catalyst. It draws him in and draws the readers in,
Right.
right into this unsettling mystery.
Exactly. And then he gets to Innsmouth. And it's like he stepped into this forgotten world where time has stopped, everything's decayed. It's really Lovecraft's descriptions, of the buildings, the deserted streets, and just this awful stench of fish. It creates such a sense of wrongness,
No, the imagery is so vivid. You can almost, I don't know, smell that salt and decay coming right off the page. And then, he meets the bus driver, Joe Sargent. I mean, talk about a creepy character. Lovecraft gives him these bulging, watery blue eyes that never seem to blink. It's super unsettling.
I know, it's such a vivid image, isn't it? And the narrator's reaction, it's immediate. He senses that something's off, something's not human. It's like Lovecraft is giving these little hints about the horrors that might be lurking beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's like that feeling when you know something is wrong, but you can't figure out what it is.
Yeah.
And then the narrator, as he's exploring Innsmouth, his unease grows. He sees the locals, their behavior. It's strange, almost ritualistic. They move and they talk in a way that just screams secrecy. It's very unnerving.
He's an outsider, an intruder. He's stumbling into something ancient, sinister. And Lovecraft is so good at using little details, to heighten that sense of dread. Like the strange jewelry that they wear. It's got these bizarre designs on it, like nothing you've ever seen before.
Little breadcrumbs leading to something sinister.
Mhm.
Lovecraft never tells us what's wrong, but he lets our imaginations run wild, which is way scarier.
Oh, for sure. And then there's this character, Zadok Allen, this 96-year-old drunkard, and everyone's warning the narrator to stay away from him.
Oh, well, of course, he can't resist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our narrator. He loves a good story, even if it's from a, well, let's just say questionable source. He basically bribes Zadok with alcohol to get him talking, and they go to this deserted wharf so he can hear his story.
And Zadok's story is a doozy. It's this rambling, incoherent tale, but it reveals Innsmouth's dark history. He talks about Captain Obed Marsh, an Innsmouth sea captain. He comes back from a South Seas voyage with these stories about strange islands, ancient ruins, and a mysterious race living in the ocean.
Wait, living in the ocean. That's where the whole fish people thing comes in, right?
Exactly. According to Zadok, Captain Marsh met these deep ones. They're these amphibious creatures, and they demand sacrifices for bountiful fishing, treasure, the usual.
So he makes a deal with them
Right.
and brings their religion, this esoteric order of Dagon, back to Innsmouth.
Exactly. And then things get really creepy. The people start to, interbreed with these deep ones. Their kids are born with, well, increasingly fish-like features. It's like Lovecraft is playing on this deep-seated fear. The fear of the unknown, the fear of something monstrous hidden within us.
And Zadok calls this the Innsmouth look, right? He mentions something even scarier.
It's this cosmic horror, right? It's not just about the monsters, but this vast, uncaring universe they represent and how insignificant we are compared to that.
Yeah. It's a lot to take in. And Zadok's ramblings are definitely planting these seeds of doubt and fear in the narrator's mind. But does he believe him, this old drunkard? Or does he need to see something for himself?
Well, remember, Zadok is, a drunkard. His stories don't always make sense. So the narrator, he doesn't believe him completely. But then he sees something so terrifying, so awful, that he flees the Gilman House Hotel in a panic. It's like the image is burned into his mind.
So he sees something that confirms everything.
Yeah, and suddenly Zadok's ramblings make a lot more sense. And it gets worse, the narrator. He's being chased now by these townsfolk. He has to use everything he knows about the town to escape.
He's literally running for his life through these deserted streets with these things on his tail. It's like a nightmare. What happens next?
He manages to escape into the countryside, but he's not out of the woods yet. He hides in this railway cut watching the road. And what he sees there, it's horrifying.
He sees the deep ones,
Yeah.
all those hints, all those whispers, and now he sees them for real.
Yeah. He describes these fish-like grotesque figures moving in this unnatural way. It's pure cosmic horror. It's the kind of image that sticks with you.
Okay, yeah, I'm officially creeped out now. So the story doesn't end there, right? He escapes, but what happens then? What are the consequences of all this?
Yeah.
And he goes to the authorities, right? He tells them about everything he saw in Innsmouth, about the deep ones.
He does, but, well, they don't believe him. I mean, who would? This story about fish people and ancient rituals. But they do investigate eventually, and what they find is so awful, so disturbing, they decide to cover the whole thing up.
So they raid Innsmouth, arrest people, and eventually destroy the town to hide it all.
Exactly. Innsmouth is wiped off the map, gone. But the story doesn't end there for our narrator, does it? He starts experiencing these strange changes, physical and mental. He thinks he's becoming one of them.
The Shadow of Innsmouth. It's
Yeah.
like a curse he can't escape. He got away,
Yeah.
but the horror is still with him.
Yeah, and that's the brilliance of Lovecraft. It's physical horror, but it's also this deep psychological terror. The fear of losing your humanity, it's more disturbing than any monster.
It's like this fear of the unknown within ourselves, this
Yeah.
monstrous potential. We all have it. But let's go back to cosmic horror for a second. You said it's more than just monsters and shadows.
Lovecraft was writing in a pretty crazy time, The early 20th century, things were changing fast. Industrialization, World War I, people were losing faith in traditional beliefs. Maybe some of that anxiety is reflected in his work in The Shadow Over Innsmouth. What do you think?
I think you're right. It makes a lot of sense. Like Innsmouth itself, this decaying town that used to be a bustling port. It's like a metaphor for humanity's decline, this erosion of civilization, the decay, the isolation, the rituals. It's a world slipping away from reason and order.
And the deep ones, they're both human and fish, right? Like a blurring of boundaries. What even makes us human? It's scary to think that we could devolve, regress back to some primal state.
And the fact that they can interbreed with humans, that makes it even more terrifying. It's like this monstrous potential isn't out there. It's inside us,
Yeah.
passed down through generations. Makes you wonder what secrets your own family might be hiding.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of secrets, let's not forget about the tiara, right? It was this object of fascination for the narrator in the beginning, but as the story goes on, it becomes something much darker.
Like a siren's call, luring him to Innsmouth, and eventually to his doom. That seductive allure of the unknown, but also so dangerous.
And it connects him to his family history, which is a whole other layer of horror we haven't even gotten into yet.
Yeah, the story takes this turn. It's not just about Innsmouth. It's about this personal nightmare the narrator is living as he uncovers his connection to the deep ones.
It becomes a very personal, psychological horror. It's all about the narrator now, his anxieties and this terrifying truth he can't deny.
So, shall we dive into this whole family history thing then?
Let's do it. Time to uncover the final layer of this unsettling tale.
Okay, so last we left off, our narrator had escaped from Innsmouth, but he's starting to realize the real horror might be in his own family.
It's like, those classic horror stories with a family curse. But Lovecraft, he takes it way further. It's not just some evil spirit haunting them. It's like this potential for monstrosity that's inside all of us, passed down through generations.
It's a pretty disturbing thought. And as he starts digging into his family history, it gets worse. He uncovers these weird rumors, these whispers about his grandmother, an Orne from Arkham. She married this mysterious guy, nobody knows where he's from, right after the Civil War.
And remember how the narrator, he noticed those similarities between himself and his grandmother? The Innsmouth look, as Zadok called it. Like, it's not just a physical resemblance. It's a sign of something deeper, inherited.
Like this visual representation of the corruption inside him.
Yeah.
This sign that the deep ones, their taint, is in his blood. And then there's the uncle, right? He's got the same features. And this weird obsession with their family history.
I know. It's like the uncle is trying to warn him, and then he kills himself. can't handle the truth.
That's a huge turning point in this story. I mean, it suggests that whatever the truth is, it's so horrible, death is better.
It's terrifying. And then the narrator, he has this dream. His grandmother tells him she never died. She went to live with the deep ones under the sea. It's like his ancestry is calling him, pulling him toward his fate.
Scary, but also kind of alluring, like
Right.
he's being pulled toward this forbidden knowledge, but it fills him with dread at the same time. And then there's the family jewelry collection.
He describes these pieces as grotesque, repulsive,
Hmm.
made from some unknown metal. And they've got those same blasphemous designs on them, just like the tiara that started his whole journey to Innsmouth.
Wow. So it all connects. The tiara, it was the symbol of the unknown, the alluring mystery, but now it's a link to his monstrous ancestry.
Exactly. It's like the narrator's family history is a miniature version of what happened to Innsmouth, this chilling example of how the deep ones can corrupt and destroy. And even though the narrator is going through this awful transformation, he still has a choice. He chooses to embrace this new heritage, to see what's waiting for him down in the depths. It might be wonders or it might be horrors, but it's a choice. It's like our own fascination with the unknown, even though it scares us.
Yeah. It reminds us that we're all capable of amazing things and terrible things. And the choices we make, they really define who we are.
The Shadow Over Innsmouth, it's a story that really sticks with you. It makes you think about your deepest fears, the things you don't understand, and this unsettling idea that the monsters we're afraid of might be closer than we think.
So there you have it. We've gone deep into the Shadow Over Innsmouth. The themes, the symbolism, this terrifying family secret, it makes you question what it means to be human, what's real, and what horror truly is.
Think about it. What secrets are hidden in your own family? What choices would you make if you were faced with the unknown? The real horror might not be out there in the dark, but inside us.
And that wraps up our deep dive into H.P. Lovecraft's The Shadow Over Innsmouth. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to look into the shadows. You never know what you might find.